Hi, everyone. I'm Morgan Katz, your host at Changing the Game podcast. Today, I have two incredible entrepreneurs with me, and I'm so excited to welcome Jill and Heather with Society 54 to Changing the Game. Thank you both for being here today with me.
Thanks for
Thanks
having
for
us.
having us.
Yes, absolutely. One of the amazing things about working in B2B software, legal marketing software, specifically for us to connect, is learning about other female entrepreneurs and their journeys. And I'm so excited to learn more and share about Society 54 and all the things that you guys are building. So, if you will give us a quick introduction and overview of Society 54 plus the new products and elements you have rolling out, I can't wait to hear about them.
Thanks, Morgan. So this is Heather McCullough, for those of you who can't see what's happening right now. Jill and I started our consulting company, Society 54, 10 years ago this month, which is May. And we were so thrilled to just do something a little bit different. And over the past 10 years, we've continued to iterate, add new services, find gaps in the market that we think could really benefit those who sit in places that we were where we were sitting, more than 10 years ago. And one of those things, as you mentioned early on, is our tech product, which it's been around, it's been under an evolution over the last few years, and we are relaunching it as of last year. It's called Inform 54, and it's really focused on project management and reporting for those leaders within law firms. So how are our attorneys doing on their business development efforts? What's keeping them on track and engaged to make sure that they're staying in front of their clients? And then for those business professionals who sit within the marketing and business development functions, what are they doing day in and day out that's really driving the firms forward? How are they making an impact and quantifying those efforts so that they can then roll up and be able to report on all the wonderful things that they're doing on behalf of the firms that they serve day in and day out?
That's amazing. And tell me, we were similar. We were a consulting business that rolled into technology too. And COVID forced us into that with the change of dynamics within event ticketing that was produced from that. But was there a time, or what was the story that happened that it was like, we really need to get into this other side of the business? Was it customer driven, internal driven, a mix of that?
Well, this is Jill. And that I think started for us very early on when we started our business, with the premise being around coaching and training. We wanted something that was a living, breathing opportunity for the attorneys to stay focused and targeted. And we felt that technology would be a really good additive to that. So we pretty much immediately started thinking about how we could build a tech tool to solve the question that we had around, just sustaining that momentum. We found that when we were in-house working in our roles as marketing BD professionals, when we would bring in coaches, there wasn't a lot of communication back and forth. So we wanted to have that transition plan built in and really be an extension of the marketing BD teams. So we were serving, an opportunity just to not only be there to help their attorneys, but really helping them be that strategic voice inside their firms and carry out, the stuff that we were working with the attorneys one-on-one. And that's where technology also kind of helped solve that gap for us.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like that was kind of that final piece to be a full service solution for people versus a segment, which is there's a lot of segments out there, but to have the full service capacity and where someone can go to one spot and trust, that's a really big win.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that you've had the same similar situation, right? Of just kind of figuring out how we can take the only thing that I think is changing in our legal atmosphere over the last 100, 200 years is technology and the evolution of technology. So figuring out how we can adapt it to be smarter and work more efficiently.
Yeah. Do you think law firms are moving faster at adapting to technology in the last years or so versus maybe the last 20 years or so prior? Because I know one thing that it can be slow going at different times for different people and industries.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think the pace at which adoption is happening has increased even in the past year as we're looking at all of the AI tools that are available and maybe just the appetite for going after something that may seem a little bit outside of what the comfort level for a lot of the attorneys are. I know for the folks that sit on the business side, we've wanted these tools for years, and it's just having the buy-in from those who are holding the purse strings to allow these things to be added to our toolbox or our tool belt. I believe that that's happening more and more. And again, as even the pace has accelerated, I think the adoption and the ability to make the decision to add some new and different technologies to the suite of things that you offer within your organizations is increasing.
Yeah, I love that point of it being a competitive advantage at this point too, right? It's like if you are not using technology, but all of your clients are, or their industries that you service are, it's an internal disservice that's not connecting the dots for someone to be able to say, yes, this is my attorney, this is my firm, or anything of that nature.
Absolutely.
So as you guys manage the consulting side with the technology side, that's a changing of hats, because the consulting side is let's be creative, let's be inventive, let's solve this. And the technology side is, this word means this. I share the story often with people that my first developer, I was like, I need this to be data. And he was like, no, you need this to be a report. And I'm like, that's the same thing, like move on. And he's like, it's not. And like, that was the end of his sentence. So there's this side of going from, we're going to be creative, we're going to help you come up with solutions. And then this line has to be here. And this is this for the technology side. How do you manage that and flipping back and forth to make those for you personally to be able to operate?
I think it's surrounding ourselves with the right type of people. Very early on, we had somebody helping us that helped translate what technology was, right? So he was kind of an intermediary between the data coding and like what we were asking him to do. And he helped us kind of interpret things a little bit differently. But you're right, like it's a whole different universe of what we have to learn as it relates to, going marketing a technology versus marketing people. And that's the industry that we're in, is marketing people. So we had to, it's a steep learning curve to kind of understand technology, and we're learning every day. We've been doing this for 7 years, but we're still learning every day. All these new types of tools that are out there and connections that we're making that are outside of legal. It's really exciting, and it's so interesting to see how we've been on 2 calls today with different providers of just things that they're doing differently. And we're ideating on how can we make our product better based on, what they've done, and plugging in and integrating and, all the things that would hopefully help the people that we're trying to serve their lives easier.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think that's a cool side of technology that sometimes gets missed, is people talk a lot about the relationships, people to people, making connections, but you do make connections with other technology providers and other resources to build a better product for your customers. And it's not a silo game. You have to be able to play well in the sandbox, essentially, with other technology to be a true resource. That's amazing.
It's becoming even more evident, as people are looking for that one centralized solution, which I don't think is out there, or will be, because agnostic products, serve a specific niche that those conglomerate products sometimes can't. So I think there's always going to be opportunities. It's just, finding within, the landscape of clients what they need and how to actually service those needs.
Yeah, absolutely. As we dive into your client side and just understanding your who you're assisting, talk to me about your team and who's on your team, what makes up your team, how's your talk about what's the cool thing about your culture. I'd love to just learn more about the internal side of your business.
Yeah, so we have a number of individuals who work with us on the Society 54 side, many of which are focused on our core products, the training, coaching, the talent, the fractional assistance that's offered to marketing and business development teams when they're under-resourced, overworked. And then on our technology side, we have some folks who help us build the technology. So those folks who tell us that we can have a line here, but not a dot. And then also we have a couple of folks who help us on the customer success and sales side of things. We are constantly looking to grow that side of our business. Again, as our technology evolves and grows, that side of our business will also build and grow. But I will say maybe the fundamental part of how Jill and I have looked at building our business is everyone that works with us has worked within the walls of a law firm. So given that that is our primary focus for our business and that is who we are selling to, it's really nice to have people who speak the language, who have served in those roles, who know the pain points that exist already, and can seamlessly make connections and be a part of those teams.
Yeah, that's incredible. And how did you two meet and get this whole thing rolling?
Well, we were at competitive firms in Charlotte. I moved to Charlotte in 2007, and Heather was already here. She'd been here for 5 or 6 years, maybe before that. And we were at competitive law firms, and we just started. What's really nice about Charlotte and LMA in general is the sharing community. I came from Cincinnati, and it was not a sharing community. So coming to Charlotte, where I was being embraced by people that were at competitive law firms, and the idea around friendship and sharing and partnership was something that was kind of rooted in this community. And Heather and I just developed a friendship, and we started talking about what's next for you, what's next for you. And it just kind of evolved into we want to focus on these things, and it's hard to do that when we're in a law firm, especially kind of leading the charge. You're dealing with so many fires every day that to have true focus around the stuff that you're really interested in is very hard. So that's where we kind of started with the evolution of our business and the idea around creating something different.
That's amazing. Was there one like meeting, lunch, triggering event that you were like, this is it, we're doing it, and that happened? Or was it just, to your point, that evolution over time, and the timing aligned?
I can't remember the name of the restaurant, but I do remember that we were sitting outside having lunch, and it was sort of that I think we both had been testing the waters of, so what's next for you? What's next for you? And I think it was just that realization that both of us had a desire to be entrepreneurs, and we come from families that had, our parents, both Jill's dad, my mom, were entrepreneurs. And so it just was maybe innate in us, and we recognized that in one another. But I was thinking about when Jill was just sort of sharing the origin story of us meeting. It started there, that was the seed, but we began to meet on a regular basis. And I can remember there's this we call Uptown Charlotte. It's sort of the highest point in the downtown area of Charlotte, called Uptown. And there are these 4 statues, and we worked in different buildings, away from one another, but we would meet there. It was almost like a goodbye. All right, we've got a 4-year time frame, and then we're starting. All right, we've got 3.5 years, and we're starting. We've got 3 years, and we're starting. And obviously we met more often than every 6 months, but it didn't happen overnight. We planned for years about what this would look like, what our timeline looked like. And Jill is a driver, and she kept us on track. I mean, once the word was said that we were going to do this, and there were 5 years, and then it was going to happen, she held us to that timeline, and we launched, and within that window.
That's amazing. And to stay in a timeline like that does take a driver who is dedicated and can follow that path. That's really incredible. So
I probably would have started way before. She wouldn't let me. So I was like, can we do it now? Can we do it now? Double down, Jill.
The personalities
That's
here.
Not, yes.
Now and maybe a little more planning. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just ready, aim, fire, and Heather is more methodical around like, okay, let's think about it first. And it's a good balance, and we understand that about each other, so we can get the best out of, like what we're trying to actually accomplish by using our different personalities in those ways.
That's amazing, and so important to understand that in a co-founder, because you hear times and time again where co-founders split and there's this big thing, but when you truly understand the path of the process. Do you guys use any tools that, whether it's EOS or different tools in operating your business as entrepreneurs, to get those understandings of each other's strengths and how you operate and run the day-to-day?
Yeah, we've both been DISC certified, so that's a practice that we employ a lot, and we use it with our coaching too. So we use it with our people, we use it with our coaching, and just understanding, where our personalities kind of lie, where the strengths and weaknesses are, I think is a really good tool just to make sure that we're trying to meet each other in the middle. Not just for Heather and I, but for the people that we work with, and also trying to understand our clients a little bit differently, what the market looks like a little bit differently, of just always having kind of that mindset in our lens of how to communicate differently. So we do employ that. We also have some other tools too, but that's probably the one that's primary. Heather's also done Smart Collaborator, so she's really focused on kind of the team dynamic and client interface and working with loyalty programs and that sort of thing, which I have not been certified on. So it's finding where our passions lie and then going after those. We also went back to school and got our masters in different disciplines to complement each other as well. So.
And then Jill, I was just going to mention, in addition to that, Jill and I both have been through sales training because, coming out of law firms, it wasn't something that I was ever trained in. So we went back and did that, as well as we participated. I was sort of boots on the ground, but as a company, we participated in the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program, which was incredibly helpful to really plan out, what the next steps for the firm looked like. And, you had to go through a really rigorous process, and you're shaking your head. So I imagine you're either familiar or have gone through it yourself. And it was a rigorous process to help us come up with what that plan looks like, and having a true understanding of, all right, how do we future-proof this organization and also just excel as we move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an incredible program. I did it a couple of years back. It was such a solid foundation of how do you actually do these things, right? And so we all want to do these big, bold things, but sometimes you have to know the basics to be able to put your foot on the right ground and not fall and everything like that. So yes, but it's a incredible program nationwide that they offer, and such a nice give back to entrepreneurs getting started. So going with that kind of theme of, making the right steps, what's a move that you guys made in your first year or two that it was not a make or break, but it was big and it was really important and it paid off really well? You started this company. What's that next big thing that happened for you guys in your timeline?
So I'm happy to take this one. And I can say that this was born out of the time spent at 10,000 Small Businesses. So I'm glad we've sort of full circled here. And that is, I think initially, and at least for me, I won't speak for Jill, but I had this mindset that as an entrepreneur, you have to do it all. I can do it all, girl power. It's all within my abilities. And while that might be the case, we need to be able to focus on the business, not in the business. So finding those opportunities to engage with people who have the right skill set to help us in areas where, yes, we can do it, as an example, bookkeeping, but do we have the time, or should we focus our attentions there, or put that with the right professional who can help us in that regard in order for us to accelerate forward? So, I think just finding those things, that's just one small example, but finding those things that people who are truly disciplined in those areas can just help us get that in order so that we can focus on the next steps for our business overall.
Yeah, amazing. Jill, anything to add on that?
Well, I had a different thought, and that was around when Heather and I first started this. I don't think that we thought it would grow to be kind of like what it is now. And we hired one of her former colleagues very early on, and that kind of changed the trajectory of our service offerings. Very early on, she was basically seconded to one of our clients, and that opened up our fractional side of our business. So there's been so many learning opportunities along the way. And I think that, Heather and I are just trying to say yes to the right things, when those come, because we've had so many of those opportunities where we have said yes, and some of them have not gone great and others have gone really well. But that was one where I don't think that we anticipated it, and we, had a happy accident that's really been a huge revenue driver for us over the years.
That's incredible. Yeah, sometimes what we put on the roadmap, right, isn't the path that's going to actually be productive for all of us. And you don't know until you try it all. So Being in legal marketing, we kind of talked a little bit earlier about how technology is changing and advancing and people are more open to it. What are other things in that space that are either getting a lot of attention or not getting any attention that is on your radar, good and bad, that you guys have been thinking about either through product offering or just the industry as a whole for legal marketing?
Well, I think technology is always the conversation that people are having, and that's an evolution conversation, right? And AI is influencing that so much. I think what's been interesting to me, at least over the last 2 years, has been the focus around the business side of legal. We're getting pulled in a lot more to do management training with attorneys and getting them to think about, not just the sales side, the business development, which has typically been where we've been pulled in, but what does their business look like? What does it holistically look like? How are they managing their clients? How are they managing their team? How are they thinking about the future, mentoring, training, like all of it has been a welcomed thing that I've seen, just as firms are starting to invest more in their people around what that actually means. It's not about the bottom line as much as it is about, giving people the tools to be successful with whatever that looks like for their career.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think we see that at a wellness is a big word around like all industries, but to see people look at their business, because it's so different for attorneys, right? Holistically as each attorney and even the practice line, but the attorney as a whole, there's a lot of options there and opportunity for growth.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say also, I feel like firms are giving their MBD teams more opportunities to develop their teams as well. I mean, we're getting pulled in on a lot of MBD team retreats, which is fantastic. And I wish my firm would have allowed me to do that I mean, we had ad hoc ones where we would, like take the half a day and go somewhere where the attorneys couldn't find us. But it wasn't something that we could truly invest in like they're doing now. So I think that that's really great too. So I think just law firms thinking about things more as a business and how they can, really employ their people to be successful. That's been a welcome change that I've noticed.
That's incredible. Things that are on your roadmap for 25, anything you're excited about, big projects, anything that we want to share about that's going on within the business or in the industry that would be a benefit for everyone listening?
I would say one thing that I'm excited about, I think it's one of, it's not a must-have thing, but as Jill knows about me and others who know me learn, is I am very curious and want to learn more and grow more, but there's also this sort of imposter syndrome piece that if I don't have the training behind something that I'm doing, then therefore I can't do that thing. We know none of that is true, but just a little bit of an insight into my psyche. So Jill and I are going back to get certified in leadership coaching and training so that we can then train others in leadership development. So as we're seeing that as a growing area of need, while we already do it and we know that we do it well, having that, maybe that credential behind us, I think will be helpful. And so to me, that's very exciting. And then in addition, I think Jill mentioned early on are the conversations that we're having around our technology and how we can partner with others is truly exciting because it's what our clients are asking for. And so then to be able to offer that is something that I'm really looking forward to being able to do and offer in the future.
That's incredible. That customer feedback, right? That's what we're all here for. And that's why we did this, is we wanted to make a difference and drive goals and success for them. And so when you can take that and then make it come to life, there's some magic there. There's some incredible opportunity there. Love it. Well, thank you both for joining me today on Changing the Game. It was so great to talk with you. And just as we both, spend our time in legal marketing, it's always wonderful to talk to other founders and see what you guys are doing and building for your clients is truly amazing. Not just the consulting side, the leadership development and training that you were talking about, your technology, so many ways that you're able to help your firms that you work with currently and other firms out there. If people want to get in contact with you, what's the best way for them to reach you or find you?
You can reach either one of us by email, our first name. So Heather at society54.com or Jill at society54.com, or you can find us online at society54.com or inform54.com.
Amazing. Thank you both so much for joining me today. It was wonderful to chat with you, and we'll see you on the next episode of Changing the Game.